Hello everyone, welcome to the test rider review of the BMW F900 GS. This is the second video in a series where I test rode the lineup of the 310, 900, and 1300 GS. This was all set up and thanks to Bob's Motorcycles in Jessup, Maryland. Shout out to Bob's, go check them out if you're looking for a BMW in your local. And one more favor before we get started, if you find the video helpful or informative, go ahead and hit subscribe, it would really help me out. With that said, let's get on to the ride.
Everybody, welcome back to another BMW today. This is my second test ride of the day. I just got off the 310 GS and now I am on the 900 GS. This was new to BMW's lineup, I believe, either in 2024 or 2025. And it's kind of meant to step up from the 800 from a road-going bike to a slightly more off-road going bike. You have, I believe, a little bit higher suspension, a little bit more power, you're getting more off-road going modes and wheel selection. You're going from an aluminum, cast wheel or forged wheel to a spoked wheel, and more off-road going tires. Obviously tires you can switch out, but you can tell what they're expecting you to do based on how they kind of outfit the bike from factory. And this one has been outfitted, as you can tell, for a little bit more off-road use. So this is my first time riding more of a proper GS. I have not ridden a GS before today, before I got on the 300. Ergonomically, you got a 34-inch seat height. You are closer. The handlebar position is very wide and kind of far forward even. I'm 5'11", about 230 pounds, got about a 30-inch inseam. I'm an American-sized man. A few things are interesting me about the ergonomics. And again, this is my first time being on one of these, so bear with me here. It's tall, which I expected. That's sure, whatever. But the position of the brake and the clutch is not what I was expecting. The clutch is really far forward from the foot peg, as you might be able to tell. And I'm not a man with small feet. I have about an 11 and a half inch shoe size, depending on how wide it is, because really my feet are quite wide. Yeah, I'm just a little bit shocked at how far the shift lever is. And the foot peg, or the brake I should say, is a similar story there. For your foot to be in the right position to hit those, your foot has to be pretty far forward on these pegs, which is interesting. This seat, as opposed to the 310, you're talking about a much more deep seat as far as like length front to back. So it's a lot more kind of welcoming in that sense. It's a little bit firm for my taste, but I feel like every bike's seat from the factory nowadays is like, hey, this seat isn't very comfortable. You want to buy our comfort seat? So that might not surprise you, but this seat isn't bucking the trend. It's a little bit firm for my taste. I'd probably get a comfort seat, something a little bit more plush. But the shape of the seat is good. Ergonomically, you're fine there. Let's talk about the mirrors really quickly. These appear to be the same mirrors that are on the 310 and also appear to be the same mirrors that are on 1300. And I'm a little surprised because when I was on the 310, I was remarking, I'm not really impressed with the mirrors. I guess I'm not super impressed with these mirrors. They're the same mirrors. They're fine. They remind me of the ones on my Yamaha, which are also fine. They're totally fine. It's just that I recently rode the Honda Transalp, and Honda's mirror game is just better. They just have better mirrors than most other manufacturers, so that's something to be of note. But maybe they also expect, I know a lot of people who go off-roading also replace their mirrors. Maybe they're expecting you to replace the mirrors on this bike as well. I do like the sound of this engine. Let's talk about the engine, its kind of characteristics really quickly. So it's a parallel twin. I believe it's about 100 some odd horsepower. Or is it, I might be thinking the wrong number. It might be around 90 to 100, somewhere in there. But I've only been using around town speed so far. And the engine, it makes a nice noise. I like the sound of it quite a bit. And I don't know, as we ride, we'll see if we can get some more engine characteristics. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Going from the 310 to this, we're tripling the displacement and we're probably almost tripling the horsepower as well. Yeah, it's just, this is a full-size bike. This is a big boy bike. Whee! Man, parallel twins, huh? What a great, like, I know the parallel twin really, you know, over the past decade has really come into its own, and it's kind of absorbed a lot of the motorcycle riding segment. But you can see why. It's such a torquey engine, and, you know, if you make it well enough, it can give you enough horsepower to get where you need to go. So it's really such a fun engine to use around town or slow speeds. There's not much to complain about with these engines. And so one of the sales folks at this BMW, Bob's BMW, was telling me that this engine feels similar to a Boxer, but like kind of a toned down Boxer engine, but it feels familiar to the other people. And I'll say, as somebody who's ridden, you know, a dozen other parallel twins or whatever, it feels similar to other parallel twins I've ridden. Like, it's not very foreign to me. The power band and where the torque is and how it feels is very approachable, you know, kind of going back road around town speeds. The suspension is manually adjustable. You got preload up front, and you have, I believe, dampening in the rear. So, you know, it's fully adjustable, manually adjustable suspension on this model. I believe this is the base model. You can option it, electronically adjustable suspension, I believe. It doesn't come with it by default, but I think the 1300 does. I'll correct myself there, possibly. While I'm talking about suspension, here are some other stats. The wheel size, what do we got on this bike? I believe it's a 19 up front and a 17 in the rear. The tires are like an 80-20 or 90-20 off-road to road bias tire. I would probably, I mean, just for my liking, I think I would soften the suspension a little bit just for on-road riding. It's probably more communicative to you, and you'd probably like it more off-road. Definitely a little bit firmer out of the box than the 310 is. But that's a beginner bike, and I feel like that's kind of what you want. Talk about ergonomics again really quick. The foot pegs are nice. I mean, you are meant to stand on these things, huh? That's a big thing for me. I really like being able to stand on the foot pegs. Just as a comfort thing, I like to be able to get up, stretch out, all that kind of business. And yeah, these really do it for me. Let's actually turn around in here. I'm gonna pull up this way, and I'm gonna do a U-turn up here. This will be my two parking U-turn test. All right, lining up and lock. Yeah, we're good. I think we are at, like, the turning radius on this thing is actually really impressive. That was basically like a 1.75 space U-turn. So, very impressive. I will say, ergonomically, the weight of this bike, you do feel it. You know, it's not, this isn't a bike that's gonna wow you with how light it is. It's a properly weighted adventure bike, and you can feel it. You can feel the weight. Oh, let's talk about the wind really quickly. So this is not an adjustable windscreen, as you can see. It is in that position, and I'm really only getting wind hitting me at about like my throat. You know, I was kind of disparaging these mirrors earlier on in the test ride, and they're actually totally fine. If you have a less buzzy engine than the one in the 310, you're fine. You're not getting that much buzz here. Obviously, highway riding, you're going to be fine. You got wind protection, you got comfort, you have enough power. This is a bike that you could crush miles on the highway. I feel like that goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, back on the twisty roads here, kind of most of this test ride is a twisty road segment, so that's, you know, that is what it is. But that's the type of riding I like to do. And this bike is very confident, you know. I'm not like scared, it doesn't feel twitchy, you know, like, and you have enough power to have fun. But I'll be honest, folks, I don't go crazy on road anymore. I picked up Mini Moto, and that gives me enough racing excitement in my life to really get it all out there on the track. And on the road, you know, I play it pretty safe. I'm not trying to kill myself or hurt or anybody else when I'm out on the road. So if you're a street warrior, if you're somebody who's going to tear it up and push a bike to its limits on road, one, I don't think you should do that. Go to a track day. But this bike, you know, it's not made to crush twisties, but it's totally competent. You know, you have enough adjustability with the suspension here. You have a comfortable enough, confident enough, ergonomic rider triangle that you're not going to have any problems. Whee! Honestly, I think I might actually put risers on this bike because it's like, it's okay to stand up, but I honestly might put some risers that move the handlebars back and towards me a little bit because they're a little far forward. I'd like to be a little bit more up straight. And also when standing up, I'm leaning forward more than I would kind of almost expect to. So that might be something that I would do. Before I forget, this bike does actually have a dashboard, unlike the 310, or like an adjustable dashboard. You have different ride modes. You got road mode, you got dynamic. We're in dynamic now, which is a more aggressive. It's probably what you'd call the twisty road mode, or what a lot of bikes would call race or whatever, right? It's still not scary aggressive. I've ridden some bikes where it shortens the throttle response so much it's almost like unwieldy. And this one, it still has a nice roll on, roll off throttle. It still feels really nice and comfortable. And then you have the enduro mode, it's kind of your off-road. And then you have a rain mode. You have cruise control as well. This model is not equipped with the quick shifter. There's an SOS button here, which I did not know was a thing. I don't even know what that does. Maybe I'll put it here. You know, you have nice controls. You have the kind of classic BMW wheel here, which controls some of the menus. If I go down in the menu, what I really like about this bike, I feel like every bike should have this. So it has a nice My Vehicle screen. Every bike, if you're over the $10,000 mark, give me tire pressure. I love that it has this. Every bike should have tire pressure in the My Vehicle thing. It's just nice to have. It's just a nice, convenient thing to know where your tire pressure's at, isn't it? Don't you want to know that information so you don't have to get down and pull the little caps off and attach the thing? And instead, I just do this. Sick. It also is keyless. As you can see, you have an on and off button, so it's keyless if that's a thing that you care about. I will say it's kind of neat. I like that that's there. You'll also have a USB port here up front. I like that it has kind of all these amenities that are just like right here for you. I feel like all bikes this day and age should have a USB port. You can run the cable from the accessory port right up front and do your whole thing, but everybody now has a USB-C charger. Just give us the USB-C port up front, you know. Obviously it's good that there's still an accessory port, but having the USB port up there is just convenient. You know, you can put your quad lock, you could mount it here or here, plug it in. You don't have to think about it. Wow, it's a tall bike. We are talking about a tall bike, folks. Again, I'm 5'11", but I have a pretty small inseam for my height. It's a really, honestly, I say 30, but it's more like 29. So I have a pretty small inseam. And the height on this, I believe we're on a 34.5-inch seat height, which is actually an inch taller than it is on the 1300 GS, which is very interesting that this is a taller seat height. But the height and the weight is it's interesting. It's not like, I'm very interested to test ride the 1300, and maybe I'll put a note here. Hey, future Matt, or editor Matt, how did the weight feel on that bike versus this one? Because even though that one's heavier, I'm betting that it's easier to manage when you get to a stop sign like this. Like right now, I'm going to put my foot down. I don't love, you know, I'm basically standing up to manage this thing at a stop sign. And I can tiptoe it, but I cannot flat foot this bike. Not that this is unmanageable, but if you're a shorter rider, you know, there's that YouTuber Doodle on Wheels, or Doodle on Two Wheels, or whatever her name is. And she's short and she's small, and she rides big, tall adventure bikes. So if you are a small person, it's not to say you can't ride a bike like this. It's just there's a learning curve. So, you know, I think that if you are a short person, again, something to consider. Ah, the smell of the Burger King, the charbroiled. Every time I come up to this light, I'm smelling the Burger King. I will say what I like about being on a taller bike is the road presence you have. When you're on a smaller bike, like a sport bike or, you know, a naked bike, you're not up as high as you are on like on certain bikes. Like I have a Tracer 9, and you sit up really tall and you have a presence on the road, and it's the same with this bike. You have a presence, and it's good. It's good to have a presence, to be visible, especially in America where everybody drives a fucking huge SUV. And that's something that I value. I like that.
Alright everybody, before I bring the bike back to the dealership, I just want to wrap up my thoughts here for you. Overall, I mean, it's a fantastic bike. I think BMW has done a good job with it. You know, they've been making the 800, now the 900 for a couple of years now, and it is their middleweight adventure bike. And that's a pretty hot category. There's a lot of bikes that are, you know, just between $10,000 and $15,000 in this middleweight adventure bike category. The Tenere 700, the Transalp, the Aprilia Touareg. You know, there's a good number of bikes in this category, and I think this bike stacks up well as far as, you know, the technology and the features, but also just how the bike rides, right? It's a comfortable bike, it's very competent on the street. Obviously, during this test ride, I don't have the opportunity to take it off-road, but, you know, from a street perspective, I think it's a very competent, well-mannered bike. I think my ceiling of a seat height is probably 33 inches from what I've seen so far when I go out on these test rides. 34 inches is just kind of breaking that barrier. And also where the weight is on this bike. I think if you are a short rider or someone that's not used to having a tall, kind of tippy bike, you are going to be put off a little bit. If you are not well adjusted to a bike that carries its weight higher up, this is definitely going to be an adjustment for you. I think for the price, you're out the door probably looking at $17,000, $18,000, so it is more expensive than some other bikes in this middleweight category, but it is really competent, and if you want a BMW adventure bike, if you want that 3-year unlimited mile, or you can extend it to 5-year unlimited mile warranty, there's not many other bikes in the industry that offer that. So if that's something that's important to you, and you've kind of got your heart set on a BMW adventure bike, you're not going to go wrong here. There's no huge misstep or anything that I could see while riding the bike that would hesitate me from recommending it to somebody. Overall, for me personally, a little bit too tall. I'm very interested in trying out that 1300 GS. That review will be coming next week, so stay tuned to see my thoughts on that. But until then, let's send it back to Rider Matt to take this thing out.
And before I forget, we are about to get there, but thank you to Bob's for letting me do this test ride today. They don't get approval on anything that I say while I test ride the bike and before I put out the video. They tell me about the bike, I'm like, that's cool, let me go see what I think about it. And I make the video for you guys. And anyway, I really do appreciate Bob's. I appreciate that they're letting me test ride all these different bikes today. So if you're in Maryland and you need a BMW or a Ducati, come to Bob's and they will hook you up. Also, if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. I'm on my road to 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and I could really use the help. So thank you very much.